Hey, this is Mia Orange, and it's Sunday morning. An hour ago, me and one of my children were going to go down a couple miles down the street. There was supposed to be a zombie movie shoot that someone told us about, and they were going to be doing stage makeup and stuff and filming this movie, but my kid shooed me away, so I was like, well, I was concerned because I'm teaching a class. I'm not teaching a class, I'm attending a class as a helper today for midwifery. I just remembered. I gotta make some food for the class because it's a potluck, which kind of makes it harder to deal with because it's like I just want to get up, get dressed, and go, but it's like, oh, I gotta bring food too. So we went all last week, all past 2 weeks before, even through Labor Day without a lot of food. So it's like we spent over budget when me and my daughter went to the store because it's like my list will last 24 hours. It's just like basic foods, something to get you through here, plus you're really hungry, so it's like you want to eat double. And with teenagers, it's like they would eat triple, quadruple. And so now I'm just like fussy about the food situation. I'm like, you know what, let's just make a salad. I was going to take some canned nuts, but I found that nuts that have been in the cupboard are Best Buy like last year, September 2013. So I was like, okay, now. I was like, this kind of sucks. It's amazing how stuff can be like in your cabinet and you don't realize it, that it's been in there for that long. Although sometimes you buy stuff and it's only like a few weeks before it's should be eaten. You don't realize it because you're like, oh, it's a canned good, it's not going to go bad. Also, I was thinking of making some gluten-free cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and I'm like, some of the rice flour and weird stuff I have, it's kind of been in the cupboard for a while, so I'm kind of hesitating about that for the most part. I sometimes want to sleep in, and I can't because my bed is from like the 60s. I'm trying to say, I always get this where I feel condemned. It's like I feel like a brat a lot because one of my relatives that I grew up with always called me a brat, so I'm always like, well, I have this bed from the 50s or 60s. The last model I think was made in the 60s. So, and it's a Montgomery Ward mattress that someone gave us, and I traded with my daughter with some other mattress we got on a transitional housing program that we took with us. And then my son's, I think, is the same as this one, but it's like the box springs of the mattresses are covered with holes where the fabric dissolved because they're actually real cotton and real cotton batting and probably wool. It's like there's nothing left of it, and then there's real metal springs. So I woke up Saturday with, right, and I wonder if this is what's wrong. I've got like severe tenderness where my ribs and my liver come together, and I think I tend to lie on the right side, and this right shoulder is always hurting me. But it's like my hips always feel, I wake up, I feel like I've been beat up. And like you press on the bed and it's all springs. So it's like everywhere. It's just like laying on the metal. One of my relatives knew that we got all these pretty much from the junk pile, and said, we got these 10 years ago from a junk pile. 9 years ago. Before we had a newer mattress, but it was like this. It was like an empty ketchup packet. It's like there was a shell of what was once a mattress, and then there was nothing left. I ended up having my relatives say, I will buy you all beds. And everyone has twins, and we keep moving. It's like having to rent a truck or borrow someone. Someone comes with a minivan. We haven't moved it. I mean, I was planning my next move. I'm like, I'm going to get a bigger U-Haul truck. I'm just going to shove everything in there and make a couple trips. And I just felt like I don't want to deal with a full-size bed or a queen-size bed. And we live on stairs that are made really stupid. It's like you come in the house, you have to go up like a platform, one step up a platform, and then go up the stairs, and then there's another platform at the top where you have to turn around the corner. And of course, the ceiling and everything is too low. They tear up the walls to get to twin beds up here, because it's like impossible once you get to a curve when the ceiling's low and there's no open area. So it's like we try to bring a desk up, and if there was like an open area, you could kind of tilt it and turn it, push it in forward, and then move the other direction. I don't know, it's just really messed up. We had to take the desk apart to get it up here. So I'm terrified to think of, what if I bought a twin or full size or queen bed? How the heck would I get upstairs, because it's not built right? I don't know what people think when they put in a stairs in order to save money. It's like, it'd always be better if you just had a stairs in the middle of the room, and if you had like a bathroom or a storage closet on the other side, and maybe window, that would be kind of nice, and then have a stairs go straight up, and then have an open area at the top, and then have it go to the bedrooms. One of our places was huge upstairs like that, and it opened up like it was like a full bedroom size in the middle. You could have done a lot with that space, but it was wasted space because there's not really like outlets, and all we did was it was like seriously the size of a bedroom in the middle of our upstairs, and then we had 3 bedrooms on the edge of it. It wasn't like a hallway or anything. It was kind of weird, wasted space, and like, I don't know. Me and my friend were cleaning up downstairs, and the bedrooms were huge because the downstairs apartment was next to us was handicapped. So we had this tiny little downstairs with a front room, a kitchen, and the other room, and then upstairs we had the big room. Bedrooms was twice as big because they were mostly townhouses, but because they were handicapped over there, we got like their upstairs, and theirs was like smaller, like a 1 or 2 bedroom or something like that. It was just weird. Me and my friend were cleaning the downstairs. It was too small. We had a futon and a couch, and we're like, the upstairs is huge. Let's put the couch in the room. I had my kids in one room. It had a huge full-size bunk bed, full-size on the bottom, twin on top. It had another bed in the room because we wanted to keep our personal beds because we knew it was a transitional housing. And there's another room that had a couch that came with a place. I think, yeah, it was like a nice. I should have took that couch. I think there was a couch that came with the place. Actually, I don't. We might have ended up putting our bed up, or our couch up there. I don't know. All I know is an entertainment center and a TV that came with the place, and it might have come with the VCR. And I just end up, somehow I think we put the couch up in the middle room, upstairs, like the center room. It was, like I said, it was big. It was bigger than my bedroom that I'm in right now. And we did it because we wanted to put it in the bedroom, and me and my friend were cleaning up because the church people, I had a surgery and we had inspection right when I moved, so we never unpacked, and I failed the inspection, and somebody told the pastors that I seriously need help and I'm all alone, and they came over and started throwing stuff away, and they came upstairs and saw the couch and was like, this is so ghetto. Who would even think of putting a couch in the middle of the hall area like this? I was like, before you guys came, I had to go get my kids from school. I was like, we went and we were trying to clean up and get rid of extra stuff. It's like when you move, sometimes stuff comes that you don't want. You got boxes, you got packing material, you got old newspapers you used to wrap your glasses. So me and my friend were cleaning that stuff up because she was trying to help. And then we're going to get my kids, and the second set of people was going to come over. And then when you move somewhere and you just dump your someone just like dumps your boxes and furniture down next to the front door, we were trying to get kind of reorganized. And I've always been a single mom, going to school full time and working. this past whole 10 years since I left my ex-husband. And I was in a class for 2 to 3 terms when I left my ex-husband. Prior to leaving my ex-husband, then I dropped the 3rd term because I needed to focus on family, like getting away from him basically, and finding housing. I don't know, it's just hard. It's just really hard because these people are married. Often the wife would wait 10 years to work. They would just be home. The husband, like if they were pastors, so it's like they worked on Sunday and they did some, maybe a little bit of website, maybe a little bit of, usually they're just remodeling their house and buying things and going on vacation. So what I know, it's like, could you imagine if I had a husband who went to work and I knew that we had money coming in every month and had food in our stomachs every day, and I could stay home while the kids were in school and actually from 8 to 3, like, organize my house and get rid of clutter, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't really understand what it would be like to be like that, because the only other time I was home alone with my kids, I was home alone with my kids, yeah, my ex-husband used to work, but I was home alone with my kids 24/7. We got a babysitter 2 to 3 times, 3 max, total. Like, I had never had any babysitter. Like, it wasn't like there was any grandma, like, oh, my kids are going to go to grandma's house for 2 hours, or someone's going to take them to the park, or someone's going to play with them in the backyard. It was never, ever, ever. It was just me. It's like, you need some respite. You can't just go 15 years straight with 3 breaks. And I've got like 10 breaks in 15 years. Like, from anywhere from 2 hours to a couple times they went to camp for a few days. So, like, there's at least 2 times they went to camp for a couple days. And then there was one part of a week that they went on a field study, I think. I don't even know if they did. And all the times I did, like, taxes and stuff, like, so it would take me the whole week to sit on the couch and do. And the house was always clean. I was surprised. Everyone's like, you're such a slob, you're this, you're that. But the kids were gone. Dishes stayed clean. The couches stayed clean. There was no clutter on the floor. There wasn't excess laundry and socks thrown, shoes thrown off. I was like, the one time I was like, it's not just me. It's the fact that I'm busy and I have kids and we have priorities like homework and eating and cleaning the toilet and taking showers are like top priorities. It's cleaning the clutter, and socks come later when laundry time comes. Like, oh, go collect them all. Because I hate when they miss the laundry. The biggest point of this video today is not to talk about this stupid stuff from the past. But however, some people have this weird, like, memory, and I have that weird memory. Like, I can look at this book, I can look at this paper, something's like, oh, the kids gave me that, was so sweet. I was like, oh, this relative gave me that, and they used to abuse me. Like, it's like, ew. And it's like, I should just put some of this stuff, let the good stuff up on the wall, and put the bad stuff in the closet, or under the bed, or, like, maybe do one of those 3 months, get a storage container, and just reorganize and decide, like, so put something out of the house if it's going to cost me that much heartache. I just watched a couple videos online from a non-professional on emotional abuse and for adults and for minors, and it is very interesting. I'm going to pray because I'm eager to get my medical license so that I can actually discuss this stuff, because I can't give any medical advice. What I'm doing until I get my license is just sharing my experience and my strategies that I did, or if I could share with you someone else's link to their video or to their book, or like a phone number or something of a resource of a professional that is licensed to help you. But it's mainly just my experience and realizing I left an abusive ex-husband 10 years ago, and I lived with an abusive parent all growing up. And when my other parent went to work out of town, the abuse got a lot worse, and nobody knew about it, and I didn't know that was abuse. I thought that's just how you were treated. And there was other abuse in the household, which was physical violence, where the police were called multiple times. And I was thinking, imagine 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old seeing someone getting the snot beat out of them, and then having the cops show up, and then we were taken away in the police car. It was just like, some jerk beat someone else up, and now we're in the police car. It's like, it's like, are we the bad guys? And it was always like, my mind was always like, if someone beats you up, it's because you messed up, because you did something wrong, because you didn't do it good enough, because they are trying to show you love by beating the crap out of you. And so when I was with my ex-husband, I just thought, every time I got beat up or robbed or hurt or slapped or cussed out, that it's like, oh, I just cleaned for 23 hours straight, but I missed, like, one time we had a couple floods, and he sat back on the bed with the remote control and watched TV, and I took, like, the neighbors upstairs, it happened twice, completely flooded our downstairs apartment, and we had it happen in the kitchen, and I had to take out all of the furniture out of the kitchen. My kids were toddlers. I was taking care of them alone because he was in the bedroom with the clicker. That's what he did every day when he came home from work. Or he was into internet pornography, both of those things. But this particular time, he had the clicker. He was sitting with his feet up on the bed. He only worked for 4 hours, but got paid for 8. Or he'd work for like 3, 4, 5 hours a day and get paid for a full day. And just slack off. And I remember taking all the kitchen drawers out, taking all the furniture out of the kitchen, moving it, and there's like bookshelves and stuff in there, taking all the books off the shelf, moving into the living room, mopping, sweeping the floor, bleaching all the cabinets, or all the shelves, all the cabinets, all the shelves, taking all the silverware out, all the dishes that were in the drawers, and bleaching all the surfaces, cleaning all that, putting the dishes, bleaching all that stuff, putting it out in the yard, just dry in the sun while it was still light outside, so it wouldn't get moldy. Everything, using that particle board stuff they make your cabinets and your kitchen drawers out of. Hopefully they don't make yours like that, but most of the houses I lived in were made like that. So I wanted them dry in the sun so that particle board wouldn't just start dissolving, which it does, and it's like separates, and then cockroaches enjoy that kind of meal, I guess, or I don't know what they eat it or use it for their house or eggs or whatever. So I was trying to do that. I washed all of the dishes that were in all the silverware. Just imagine putting all your dishes from all your cupboards and all your silverware into the sink and washing it. Spent hours washing it. The kids were in the bathtub. I was going back and forth trying to get the stuff out before the sun set, and having the kids running, because you can't leave little kids in the bathtub. So it was just like, you give them a quick bath and do this and do that and get them dressed, and going back and forth with the two toddlers, or like 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 or whatever. And then I end up having, the drying rack you have when you hand wash stuff, because we had a dishwasher, we didn't have any detergent, so I didn't use it. I didn't know about all this natural food. So anyway, so we were hand washing everything. I was hand washing everything. There was like a spoon that had gotten tucked behind or underneath the drying rack. You know how you have your drying rack, and usually you have a pan. I don't think we had a pan. I don't even know we were so poor. My ex-husband wouldn't buy anything unless he brought home junk from his work, like Sanford and Son. It was like, it wasn't that messy. They probably had more clutter now than they did way back then, but it was like, we had a towel or whatever down, and a spoon got lost behind there, because I then put the drawers back together, put everything away, and maybe air it out the next day or whatever. But all the silverware, I missed a spoon, and I remember being just hollered and yelled, called stupid, but a slob. I just washed like 200 dishes, and scrubbed this and bleached this and moved the furniture and scrubbed and bleached the floor and did this and did that, and I was just like trying to kiss his butt, walk on eggshells, bringing him breakfast in bed or whatever it is. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like I deserve to be punished. It's like I forgot a spoon, it like fell behind a thing and I couldn't see it because it was like behind the drying rack or behind the towel, and I was just like so devastated. And I still remember that day, and it was just like, I'll never be good enough. I'll never be good enough. And that's how I feel now, because that's how I grew up with my mom, and that's how I grew up with my dad, and that's how I grew up with my ex-husband. So I went 28 years straight living in a physical house with somebody like that. And it's like I remember right before I left him, he wouldn't give me money for laundry. You had to pay by the quarters, and I was scrubbing he worked a dirty job. I was scrubbing his pants in the wash, in the bathtub, hanging him in the shower to dry so that they'd be dry the next day or the day after that. Washing his stinky socks and his shirts. They gave him white shirts, and then they had a dirty job picking up thrift store stuff. So he'd, depending on, going through people's garages carrying these heavy boxes. So, sometimes they're like $500 boxes, or not $500, 50 pounds, 100-pound boxes. Sorry, big mirrors and tools and weights and stuff. And it's like this dirty stuff coming out of the garage and out of the basement. It's like he would be filthy, had like oil stains and stuff on his clothes. So yeah, I was trying to wash, because you don't want to go to work dirty, even though I have this stupid white shirt and blue jeans on. But yeah, I remember right before I left him, I was scrubbing, and then I was like, I need some quarters. You're not gonna have any clothes. It's taking me like 2-3 hours just to wash this one outfit. I still was taking care of the kids, and I was sitting there with the clicker watching TV. And I remember him bringing a roll of quarters, and I ended up leaving that jerk off because I had made arrangements while he was at work, sneaking around on the phone and stealing the phone and calling the woman's crisis line in the middle of the night while he was on the pornography sites. It's like whispering on the phone, trying to find and getting a sponsor, trying to go in there and use the phone with the door locked so he wouldn't come in on my conversation, because he had shut off our home phone and I didn't have a cell phone, and he was keeping a cell phone, like he was taking the cell phone to work with him. And right, the last week I was with him, he got me a cell phone, but it was basically like, they're like, I think I had, like the last week that I left him, I think he had, I was like, because my neighbor's like, this guy's abusive, what if you had to call 911? But she's like, worse off, you're left here with 2 small children and no car and no transportation and no money, no friends. It's like, if something happens or the kids get hurt, you're going to need to call 911, and you don't even have a phone. It's like, tell him that because you need the phone. It's like, and you don't know what he might come after you with a knife or something. You're going to have to call 911. So I was like, oh, well, you cut off our home phone, but we should really get a cell phone because I'm home alone with the kids and all this stuff. So I ended up doing that and being able to call the shelters and stuff. Yeah, that's the only way I could call them while he was gone at work, was at that last week I was there getting that cell phone. And then, of course, when I left, went to homeless shelter, you cannot talk to your abuser or you get kicked out for 6 months. You can't even reapply for 6 months, and there's hardly any openings. Like, it just happens to have openings. So I ended up shutting that phone off and having my dad get me a different phone number because I was getting all these nasty text messages. And they were nasty text messages, and I would go to groups and therapy sessions and counseling, and mainly it was, okay, where are you now? You're homeless, you have no clothes, you have no money, you have no job. It's like you got $5 a month to put in gas in the car, if that. And it's like you pay every penny. If you're on welfare and you're living in their housing, the people that the state or nonprofit organization, they take 100% of your welfare. Like, if you tell them you get $300 welfare, they take $300. If you tell them that you, and I think they subtract an allowance for your electric bill. So they'll give a standard balance. So, like, they might give you $80 a month to pay your electric bill. Then they take 100% of your money, so you have no money. No money for gas, no money for bus. But so if they gave you like $80 allowance for electric, then you just don't use your electricity. Because then if it comes to be $50 a month, you have $30 to put gas in the car, or to buy your kids shoes from Payless, or whatever. Because it's like you can't send your kids to school without shoes, and they'll call you for abuse. But it was very, very difficult because all these places were nonprofit. Those workers were making a lot of money. It was just really hard because you couldn't get clothes and shoes for job interviews. You couldn't get your hair done. You couldn't even buy deodorant, for Pete's sakes. It's like going around for years without deodorant and stuff, and trying to be like, see what you could use with food stamps to, like, baking soda and, you know. It's like, I don't even remember a lot of times having detergent. It's like using baking soda and stuff, because it's like you don't have money to buy detergent. It costs money. And what do you have money for when you have a few bucks? You want toilet paper. Toilet paper is a higher priority than detergent, even dish detergent. You know what I'm saying? But I know if a relative sent me some dish soap or something, it's like, oh wow, like, this is gonna we're gonna make this last for 3 years, because we're not gonna be able to afford to pay for it. I left my hometown to get away from abuse when I was 17. I graduated from high school, but I left when I was 17 to get as far away as I could, which was 3 hours away, 3 to 4 hours away. I had my ex-husband and my dad living in the same house with me and my 2 kids. They were so abusive. And then there became 2 of them ganging up on me. It was... You see stories online about prisoners in foreign countries peeing in a hole in the ground, not eating for days, having rats. This was like that. It was like that. There was a real toilet, but it hardly worked. But it's like it didn't really work very well, but there was a toilet with a hole in the ground. But it was abuse. It was really bad. I feel sick thinking about it. And I called my ex-husband on the phone. He was working night shifts as a security guard. I was like, quit your job right now. We are packing up. And I found like some coins and some pennies. I was like, I don't care. We got a couple $100 here. And then we'd already told my dad that we were going to stay for about a week or 2. And then we were actually going to stay like a couple days and rent the U-Haul. Keep our stuff in the U-Haul. Stay a couple days. I was 9 months pregnant. And then go visit my ex's dad in the South. And then come out to where I live now. Because we made arrangements for housing and jobs and stuff through a friend. It was like, it wasn't a real arrangement, but it was the promised land out here for us, as far as diversity and which is it's like the most racist place I've ever been. But you walk into a store, you would think it's diverse. It's just that they don't treat you equally. It's just you're allowed to come in the store. You're just treated like garbage when you get there, if you're a different race. Maybe they like that to everyone. I shouldn't generalize that. Maybe. I cannot. My ex-husband was like, you're crazy, are you serious? And it's like he was getting a nice job. I was like, I can't handle it anymore. I was like, I don't know, I just have this bad feeling. I can't describe it. I just know we have to leave now, like in days. And then he quit his job. We came home, packed our stuff, and by then I had been there 5.5 months. My son was born, so there's no way we could take a U-Haul, because it's only a 3-seater, and we had me, my daughter, and my son, and my ex, and 2 babies in car seats. That's like, there's no way. That's why we were going to take the U-Haul before he was born, to come out here with all our beds. So we ended up just taking a car and leaving all our stuff, and we had parakeets, and we had turntables, and we drove as far across the country as we could get, which is where I live. I mean, you can go 45 minutes and be at the Pacific Ocean, but we stopped here because we had friends here. Blah, 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 whatever. Made it work out. The promised land wasn't as easy. 9/11 happened when we came out here, so it was like a mess. The whole country was a mess. And we couldn't stay with our friends because their parents were there visiting. And it was 9/11. They like shut down all the airplanes. So they kind of timed it, I guess. We were supposed to come right after the parents left so that we could stay with them. So we had a tent in the trunk. We ended up setting up a tent in the woods and just stay there. And then the squirrels were getting too close, so there's huge pineapple-sized pine cones they were throwing next to our car, and they got closer to our campground. I was like, I got 2 babies. I had a baby out here and another baby. I said that these things are about to drop something on our heads. They were mad. These animals were mad that we were there. I was just like, I don't feel safe anymore. And it was getting cold. We had parakeets, tropical birds. Left my ex-husband a couple years after that because of abuse, because somebody told me, this lady at the church saw me coming and crying every Sunday because my ex was yelling and hollering at me before I left and telling me how miserable I was. You do it every day, but this is the first time I was starting to get up in the car and put the kids in the car and drive, because I had given over all my driving to him, like I was just desperately helpless. I started driving again, and God helped me to just start being more independent. Spent plenty of time walking, because he took my car and we walked a couple miles to school and a couple miles to the grocery store. That sucks when you have a baby with no stroller and no shoes. To carry these 1 or 2 babies around. It was so hard. So hard. Left my ex-husband. Stopped talking to some of my friends that helped me, because I was like, it had like a V on my head, victim of abuse. Please attack this lady if you're an abuser. So I attracted every type of abuser, and any profession, any studies in school. Usually these are very intelligent people, but it's like, these people often were abused when they were kids, and they don't know how to treat people any better. Or because I didn't stand up for myself, they found it comforting to be able to mess with me. So I end up saying, if I'm going to leave my ex-husband, who I was actually married to at the time and had kids with, but I'm going to let these other jerks control and manipulate and abuse and steal my money and, trick me and yell at me and call me names, it's like, I might as well just have stayed with him. And it's like, and you saw what the domestic violence shelter said about your abuser, like, absolutely no contact, and they told you why it's dangerous, and I had books about how you could die, or if you defend yourself, you can go to jail, because the law is going to be like, you defended yourself, but you hurt him instead, or her, depending on who's the abuser and victim. And, anyways, I promised myself and told God, I will never put myself in a situation again, and that's why I left the old church, because behind closed doors and behind their back and on the phone, they were so abusive to me. And when I went in there, right before I went to a homeless shelter, it was like, oh, look at this poor black woman with these 2 white kids. It's like, my family's part white, so it's like, they are just kids. They're humans. Big deal. They used us as a project, as an example, as a way also to say, oh, we have a diverse church, not just a bunch of white people. We have this nice black family here that's struggling, and that, oh, they're so desperate for Jesus and all this stuff. And I know that this is the truth, because I wrote a speech about my experience, about my strengths, about my hope, and about how I prayed to God, how I listened to Christian music, how me and my kids drove on fumes and had strangers in parking lots, not the church, give us $5 for gas here and there when we went to support groups in the city, and how, certain GHS workers were good and certain ones were evil, but how we persevered and went against the grain, even their grain, by going to medical school. They absolutely told me that's not for people like me to be doctors. And I went against the grain, and then I was about 1 year from graduation, I gave a speech, and I wanted to just write my experience, and they totally warped the entire speech, and they stayed up all night changing it, saying, look what Champions did. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say the name of it. Look what this, it's like, could I delete that? Look what this place did for this lady. Look what we did. They took out that I watched Joyce Meyer videos at 6 a.m. Or actually, she used to come at 5:30. They took out that I went to these conferences around town. They took out the music. I remember the name of this author, or this musician. It's not Nicole Sponberg. I like Nicole Sponberg. There's another one who I was so sick and depressed and sick and just miserable. And on the radio, her song came on, and it was violins, and it was like angels were lifting me up. And I went to other events with comedy with Christians, and I started groups at school, and so, did all this volunteer work outside of that church, because they would always exclude me and my kids. So I was like, fine, we'll go to another church and do work and be part of their choir and be part of their, children's ministry and all this. And I brought up some of the stuff, like God guided me towards helping, not just being helped and all this stuff. But they totally warped the speech. And until, I had to get in the car the next day to give this speech, I was just like late for church, because I had to read, because I like to read my speech. I read my original speech over and over to my guinea pig and stuff to practice, so that you're not stumbling on words, and so you can get the timing and admit stuff that sounds stupid. And they totally warped it a whole bunch of times. And like the morning right before I left, they warped it again. I was sitting at home trying to read it. I was like, this is nothing to do with me. This is all to do with their glory that they hardly even use God and Jesus, if at all. It was all about that church and how the leaders helped us so much come out of the depths of hell and all this. I was like, this sounds like a cult. And I was like, gonna have it recorded and bring a recorder, because it was my personal journey, how God helped me get away from abuse and away from this and away from that. And I felt like that was manipulative. I felt that like that was a trick. I felt like there's more than one time that they warped something that I was going to say. Or they would say, you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't say that your kids were in a choir at Salvation Army. It's like, well, our church didn't have a choir. It's not like it's like a competitor. It's like, this store versus that store in the mall, and who's got the best smoothies, or it's like we're supposed to all be like united here on earth, and it just happens to be what neighborhood you're in, or what denomination you're in, or what family church you were raised in. It's kind of like we're not enemies, we're together, and then ultimately it's my relationship with God and my higher power that I'm listening to my conscience and listening to what I believe in the Bible that I'm supposed to. It was just like, in my mind, it was totally warped, and I thought I was crazy, and then it got worse and worse after that, and then they were gonna record it and put it on the internet, and I was like, oh, I should bring my voice recorder, like, oh, they're gonna record it and put it on the internet, I'll share it with my family and friends. I'm like, just because I felt proud to be part of a speaking engagement, and then these jerks, like, I prayed to God, this is not me, I don't want this on the internet, because this is not my speech, this is all a commercial for them. And they end up, I was like, can I get a CD? And they end up having the CD player break. I was like, this is a sign from God. And this happened several times, little signs like that. I was like, I prayed about something and something was revealed, or something broke, or something didn't work. And I was like, there's a reason that wasn't recorded. There's a reason it wasn't put on the internet for the whole entire world and the universe to listen to. Anyways, to make a long story short, I found out everyone was pecking at me on the phone, by text message, by Facebook message. Everyone was pecking at me, telling me how miserable me and my kids were. They were talking behind my back, telling me how miserable me and my kids were. These are the main pastors, the paid staff. And I was like, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to treat them how I want to be treated and have some respect for people. Well, it doesn't matter if they're a pastor, or it doesn't matter if they're that homeless lady who lives in a hotel with no teeth. It's like, I'm going to treat them like a human being, like Jesus would. And I end up leaving because it just got ugly. And I said, every time I talk to these people, I feel worse than I did with my ex-husband. And I was like, what? And then, to make a long story short, I have several relatives who treat me like garbage. And the farther I get towards being more self-sufficient and independent, the more friends I have, the more people I have calling me saying, I really like you. I like your spirit. I like your intelligence. Can you work with me? The more people I have like that I tell, it's like, oh, I'm so happy I came from like all this stupid abuse. I couldn't do anything but sit there, and you guys said I stink and all this stuff. And it's just like, these relatives get to be like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You're going to be dependent on me. You're going to be poor, and your kids are going to be raggedy with slobs. Like, no, you don't deserve new shoes or new clothes. You shouldn't even be buying health food. You shouldn't even be eating at all because you're fat. And you don't need a bed. Sleep on the floor. Sleep on a piece of plywood, directly on a piece of plywood with a sheet over it. And this is how people are talking to me. And it's like, no, you shouldn't be going to the beach for a day. No, you shouldn't be going and having Thanksgiving with dinner with a friend. No, you shouldn't be having your friends come over and study at your house. Like, that is inappropriate. And so my mind would be like, have my friend come over and study, and we have dinner and laugh and play and go to the movies, and then all of a sudden I feel guilty for having a life. I was like, this person had a life. This person had a career. This person had a family and kids that they beat down, made them feel like poop. And it's like, now I'm raising up my kids. My kids are almost grown. I got 3 years till my daughters are grown up. And if she graduates early, she's going to be going to college earlier. And so I'm just like, I gotta be showing love to my kids, the love that I didn't get as a child, and the abuse, delete. And the problem is, when I talk to these relatives on the phone, it's just like they talk about drug addiction. Say someone's a marijuana smoker, they go to NA, they quit for 3 years, they relapse, they take a couple hits of marijuana, the next thing you know, they're shooting up, and this happened to my friend, the next thing you know, they're shooting up heroin, sitting under a bridge somewhere, kids in foster care, and it's like, within 2 weeks, it's just like, they say they relapse, and it ends up 10 times worse than it was when you quit, even after going through a program, even after having God help you with recovery. It's, I don't know, there's something about the devil, it's a spiritual thing, it's like, it just, whoosh, and the next thing you know, they're in jail, or they killed somebody, or they've got HIV, or, you know, they got pregnant, had a baby that had, you don't have enough folate, you know, all this issues with malnutrition. It's like, you know, and then the state puts you in jail because you test positive for meth and all, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, living in a crack house, you know, it's just like, I've seen this happen to people. They're just like, they go back to using their favorite drug, think they're going to get off it in 3 days, just relapse, boom. So I do the same thing with food allergies I have. I go back to it, and I'm realizing, when I grew up with abuse, that was familiar, that was love. Well, the people who give you gifts at Christmas are the same people that beat your butt for no reason at 4 a.m. and slap you and tell you I'm going to kill you and all this stuff, and you just try to scrape away, like, you know, like an animal being beaten, you try to run away, it's clawing at the floor, you know, with toilet paper in your butt, toilet paper like the Charmin commercials where you roll up a bunch of toilet paper and put it in your underwear so that when someone spank you, but you don't feel it. That's how I was every day. I'm surprised they didn't wonder, why is she going to be using up 2-3 rolls of toilet paper a day? That's why. It sucks. So I got away from the physical abuse. I physically got away from the abuse. But with the internet, with the telephone, and all that stuff, it becomes... it just starts, and it's worse. An addiction point of view, comparing it like an addiction, it's like someone was smoking marijuana or even cigarettes and alcohol, and then boom, they're a crack addict shooting up heroin under the bridge. It's like you pick up the phone to the person, and it's like they've been steaming mad for weeks, like the devil themselves, and then they pounce. If you don't talk to them for a month, they pounce a month's worth of abuse and spitting poison darts into my ear and into the internet and sending nasty messages to the mail, and you're just like... And for me, this guy was like, when you recognize the patterns of abuse, which I do now, I knew the patterns of abuse, but I ignored it and said, I feel obligated to talk to these family members because it's the only family I have. If something happened to me, I was like, and I was going to put in the will that there's no way they're going to these relatives. But I never finished my will, so now I'm more paranoid. I can't die because there's no way they're going to these relatives. But it's like, recognize the patterns of abuse. The guy was like, then when you recognize it, it's like you can't really get away from abuse because it's everywhere in your society. They're like, you could be like Teflon and let it just slide right off you. But I haven't gotten the Teflon coating yet. I'm just like, I don't even know. It's like, I am still like I was when I left my ex. It's almost like someone blowing toxic smoke at me and I don't have a gas mask yet. It would take me I would build up, go to someone's house. I could sit at my neighbor's house last night doing homework, and I'm just like, this is crazy, it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm just like, this needs to be done. Feeling positive, my kid is doing homework with her kid, and one of the other neighbor kid was in the house cooking all this food and sharing it, and I was just like, this is crazy, and I end up I'm in a car wreck. I end up hearing from these abusive people, and they tell me all the wrong things, the opposite of God told me, and I listen to them because I'm like, oh no, they're the only family I had. Most people have relatives tell them how to send their kid to school and what to do with their hair and what to do, and then I listen to them and I mess up my whole family for a year. Every time this happens, it messes up my whole family for a year. Or if I visit the people, it messes up my family for a year. And I get highly sick. Like, I don't know if it's depression or what. I'm on the couch after I visit these people because it's like they knock the wind out of me just with their poison dart spit. And then every time I talked to the phone, when I was on the phone or talking to my ex-husband or got a text message that was nasty, 2 to 3 weeks it would take me to build myself back up. So it's like that 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It was just like 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. With this, and this is because I was raised to feel that when the abusive person said something or did something or slapped you or spanked you or beat you with a belt or whatever it was for no reason, or threatened to kill you all the time, it's just like, I thought that was normal. So it's like when I hear them on the phone, I was like, oh, that's normal. And then I got negative self-talk. It's like, oh, yeah, you never amount to anything. You'll never get a job. They said you never get a job. Oh, yeah, you owe $313,000, like $315,000 now for your student loans as a doctor, but you're never going to be a doctor because that's what they're telling me. And you're going to end up living in my basement with your kids so I can control you like a slave. And I'm just like, because parts of the conversation, I've been at this person's house treated like a slave, and I got on an airplane and didn't look back. And it's like, I'm never going back. It gets worse and worse each time. It's like they kept us away from food for 2 weeks. It's like, they starved us from food for 2 weeks. This is serious. I'm telling you, nobody is probably going to watch this whole video because it's stupid. I'm sorry, I'll figure out how to cut this into chunks, and I will. I'm going to recap it later after I actually get ready for the day because I'm kind of mean. I watched these other videos. You can see I have like a rash because I've been eating all the wrong foods. But I need to say this to the world because, if someone kills me, then you'll know who is pestering me. But God is my Teflon coating, and God and Jesus is my healer and my counselor. And it's hard for me to think of myself because I was so beaten down for 28 years of my life. Plus, physically, 28 years. Emotionally, mentally, physically, or financially for 10 years after that. So 38 years of abuse. Literally. I want to live the next 38 years running through wheat fields with a tank top and a pair of shorts. And I don't care if I have cellulite. I'm going to run, and if I want to eat pork, which I hardly ever eat, then I'm going to eat it. If I want to eat raw food, then I'm going to eat it. If God helps me to afford to eat the raw food, then I'm going to eat it. It's time to move on. It's time to grow up. And part of my growing up is knowing that I'm an adult and I can be myself, and I can go be a doctor and take the licensing exams with or without someone else's permission. It's my debt, not theirs. It was my 14 years of college, 15 years of college, and I'm still in college. That's making me a physician. That's making me a lab tech that I am right now. I'm gonna do that indefinitely, but it's before licensing. I can be a lab tech, then a doctor, and then a midwife, then a certified midwife, then a doula before those two midwife things, and then potentially an acupuncturist, which was my original dream. I had been saved from the bowels, the pits of hell, the sickness from acupuncture and Chinese herbs. And I was told that I had a gift many times by some old school Chinese, either Chinese and or American acupuncturists, old school, like they've been in the business for decades. They told me I was highly gifted because I knew all the channels, and I was just like, I knew stuff that they went to school to learn. And they can do rote memory, and a lot of these people, they got good memories, they can be a good person. But I have the feeling, and I have been complimented with my hands-on medicine. I shy away from touching people because when I was touched, it was hit and hurt and slapped and beaten and punched and kicked. So I'm scared to touch someone else because hands are used to hurt me, and I don't want to hurt anyone. If I'm doing a blood draw, it could save someone's life to be testing and finding out results. If I'm doing a blood draw, I'm just like hurting them, they're bleeding because I got hurt that way. But I have to touch them and deliver babies and do blood pressure readings because that could save their life. That's prevention, and that's finding out if they have a disease that I can help treat. So this is what I meant to say earlier was things I was raised were wrong, and when I do the right thing, I feel wrong. I feel bad. So I have to do the right thing and train myself to feel good. And the same with action, same with going to work. If somebody wants to financially control you and you go to work and get a job and you tell them that you got a job, they're like, you're never going to make it done. You're this, you're that, you're never going to pay your rent, you're never going to be on your own. And it's like, if I give in to that, it's still shadows, echoes. If I give in to that, then I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to have low confidence. I'm going to mess up. They're going to fire me. Or they're not going to let me work any more hours. Like, they're not going to add it to full time. And if I have that attitude, the people that want to hire me to work in their clinics, medical clinics, are going to be like, oh, I don't know. I kind of have a bad feeling about this person. So I gotta have that Teflon, that God coating, that armor of God. And just be like, and with me, I do a whole lot better not even hearing them talk about how poor I am and how badly I do things and how stupid I am. How I went, oh, you're probably never going to pass that board exam, or they still take you 3 times. Why should I hear that? They were telling me, I was like, oh, I found a way to pass tests by using this color gel and having earplugs and doing this and this. It was like, that ain't had nothing to do with it. It's because you don't study. And da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, I went to a trained person who helps graduate students who do have testing accommodation needs or that have overstimulation with noise and light. Like, I found out taking tests in a room with natural light, not fluorescent lights, my grades are 20% higher just because I have a natural light source. And I'm just like blinded by the fluorescence, and I get headaches, and I can't focus, and my eyes get like dyslexia and stuff. It's like, see, like literally. And I went to a trained professional and have accommodation letters for that. So, anyways, I am apologizing for this being so long, and nobody's gonna watch it. I'm going to post this despite me saying who these people were, because this is real life. And they know they done wrong. That's why there has been no apologies. That's why if they knew they did wrong and that they are jerks, then they would apologize. I have this really big urge to do scrapbooking right now. I decided to try to do scrapbooking last year, and I bought all the stuff, and then I never did the scrapbooking. So I'm gonna go. I don't care. I don't care if I have to use photocopy paper. God bless. I will post this. I may make it private later after I get ready for my class that I'm going to attend in a couple hours. I will make a recap where I maybe shrink this down a little bit. I wanted to share these problems with abuse, and like I said, I feel like I have a bee on my head saying victim. Go out, pounce this person. It's like, pounce this person like a cat going after a mouse. It's like, this is the one, this is the prey. You're the predator. If you're a predator, this is a good prey for you, because she's not going to stand up for herself. But it's like, I'm standing up tall now. And when I didn't talk to my relatives for 2 to 3 weeks, they're doing stuff behind my back that I'm finding out from old neighbors that I haven't been neighbors with for 20 years. I got a letter in the mail. I'm finding out they're doing something behind my back. And I'm getting ticked off because they're not even contacting me about this. And they're advertising all this stuff about me around that whole country that I didn't even give them permission to do. And if I did, their information is inaccurate. I'm getting about to leave this country because of this person. This person said they hate traveling, they hate Canada. I'm about to go to Canada I'm seriously about to go to Canada because of this person. I have considered it greatly until I got job offers here. Then I was like, maybe I can have a satellite out there. I was going to get a big old dog to keep this person away from me. And I told them that my daughter will kick people's butts. So they didn't mess with me here, but over the phone, after they left, they got after me. They got me good. And I am suffering from it. My neighbor and my other friends can tell the difference in me because I haven't talked to these abusive people in over 1 to 3 weeks. And people can sense it. Kids can sense it. I've had a congregation of kids on my porch and people ringing the door while knocking.
and I had my son sense it. He's able to have me sit in his room and study. Which he didn't want before. Everyone gets, like, I had about 10 kids on the porch yesterday, day before yesterday, or after my daughter, but before they didn't feel safe knocking, and I was like, oh, she's not coming outside today. And then I looked at the people, they're sitting around their porch, just chillaxing. I was like, tell my daughter, there's kids out on the porch. And my relative was like, I hate these people. I hate chipmunks. I'm gonna shoot them. I don't want these people on my property. Like, they are just like, and I found myself, my daughter's having people, I was like, tell these people to get off my porch. No. I was like, I'm being that evil relative. I said, no. Put out some chairs. Let's get some tables. Let them sit out here. This is good for you. And plus, people that have the kids over at your own house, then you know what's going on. And I was like, I want your friend to come in and cook some food, or to clean out the kitchen, or to clean out the living room. And I want you to have her, invite her to the house to play. And I'm sorry the house is messy, so I'm going to go clean it for an hour before I leave. I had to leave an hour. I'm so sad. I'm having a good time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I am not licensed yet, and I still have some tests to take, and I got a stack of papers. I have double this, plus 4 more packets that I have to do, and I found my notes for natural childbirth 1. I found out that I have until the 15th to take this naturopathic midwifery exam. This is from 1. I have 7 class worth of notes. This is for the first class. I have 7 classes worth of notes that I need to study by a test on October 14th of this year. And I just found this last week. On Memorial Day, I was going through papers in my room, because it is kind of cluttered. It's like, I usually have a date I can sit home, and I found some notes online last week that were from last year's class that I'm not taking 2 of them. 2 of them I'm not taking a winner. I found 1 set of notes online. I downloaded them all yesterday. I'm going to print them. And then I have the notes that are supposed to be posted any day now from the teacher. I might ask her to post them. And then I'm going to go through my own notes. I need to go through my own notes from this year. I have 3 classes I took this year. I don't even know where they are, to tell you the truth. So that's 1 plus 3, 4 plus 1, 5. And then the one that starts in a couple days, pray that she opens those notes up. And then I'm missing childbirth, I think 5 notes, 4 or 5 notes. I'm missing those. And there's a required text for one of my winter classes that I'm not taking yet till after. I'm not taking 3 of the classes, 2 of the classes. 2.5 of the classes I'm not taking till after the test. And I didn't sign up for the test, but I feel like I should. The midwife I'm working with was like, you're never going to get 2 births, or your 34 births by 36 births, 37 births. I need 37 births by the time before I can get my license. She's like, you're not going to do it in 2 years, but you never know. Plus, they're trying to work with some other groups. You never know what could happen. It's like you could do, especially if you actually start doing 4 births a month. That's 4 times 12. I'm not good with 12s, sorry. 8 times 6. Does that 48 births? Yeah. If you can get